Donald Trump stepped into the press room, ready to humiliate Barack Obama on live television, confident, loud, and certain he owned the moment. What followed was a single, perfectly timed sentence from Obama that shut the room down, flipped the power in seconds, and rewrote the headlines before anyone could react. The press room felt hostile before anyone even touched a microphone. The room was packed tight, but it wasn't loud. It wasn't calm either. This was supposed to be a bipartisan education event, but no one in that room believed that label for a second. People weren't waiting for policy. They were waiting for blood. Trump scanned the room slowly, lips tight, jaw set, like a man already annoyed that the spotlight wasn't completely his yet. He leaned toward the podium before the event even officially began, and muttered into a live mic, half scoff, half challenge. Funny how some people show up just to be seen, isn't it? A few reporters stiffened. Everyone knew who that was for. Trump smirked, then added louder, 8 years in office, 8 years of talking, and somehow people still think that counts as leadership. The room reacted instantly. Not applause, not laughter. Just that sharp intake of breath when people realize the gloves are already off. Obama stayed still. No reaction. And that only pushed Trump harder. He straightened up and rolled on like he was warming up for a rally instead of standing at a serious press event. "You can sit there all you want," he said, eyes drifting sideways, voice edged with contempt. "But let's be honest. Talking about hope doesn't fix schools. Speeches don't pay teachers, and slogans don't educate kids." The words were blunt, almost sneering, designed to sting. Trump wanted movement. He wanted a flinch. He wanted Obama to look up so he could say he'd won the moment. But Obama didn't give him that. He just listened, and that silence started to feel louder than Trump's voice. That's when the room really tightened. A veteran reporter near the front leaned toward his colleague and whispered, "He's trying to bait him early." Real early. Trump kept going anyway, his tone sharpening with every sentence. "People are tired of smooth talkers," he snapped. "They're tired of being told everything's fine when it's not. We need results, not lectures." He paused just long enough to glance sideways again, daring Obama to respond. Nothing. Trump's smile thinned. His confidence didn't disappear, but it cracked just enough to notice. Trump didn't ease into it. He went straight for the throat, like he always did when he smelled an opening. He leaned into the microphone, let a short pause hang just long enough to draw every camera tighter, then fired. "Let's be honest," he said flatly. 8 years of speeches, 0 results, all talk, no action. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The insult was clean, simple, and designed to travel fast. A few people in the room let out quick, nervous laughs. Others winced. It wasn't clever. It was blunt. And that was exactly the point. Trump wanted the moment to feel ugly, because ugly spreads. Before anyone could process it, he followed up, sharpening the blade. They loved the words, the slogans, hope, change, great lines, he said, rolling his hand dismissively. But hope doesn't pay the bills. Hope doesn't fix broken schools. Results do. The room shifted. This was no longer a press event. It was a setup. Trump's eyes flicked sideways, checking to see if he'd landed the hit. That's when the camera caught it, Obama reaching up and adjusting his tie. Just a small tug. No rush. No tension in his face. It was the kind of movement that told viewers everything they needed to know. He wasn't rattled, and he wasn't impressed. In the front row, a young reporter scrolled fast through old headlines on her screen. Hope and change. A new era. Yes, we can. She didn't look up when she scribbled in her notebook. Trump attacking the symbol, not the policy. Around her, a few journalists exchanged looks. They'd seen this move before. Strip the legacy down to a slogan, mock it, reduce it. Trump kept pressing, clearly enjoying the imbalance. "You can give speeches all day," he said, tapping the podium. "I deliver results. I don't talk about winning. I win." The words landed heavy, daring anyone to argue. But Obama didn't move again. Trump waited a beat, then another. No response. No pushback. No correction. That silence hit him harder than a shout ever could. He could feel it, that uncomfortable sense that he was talking into a room that wasn't fully his anymore. "See?" he said, forcing a laugh that sounded thin even to his own ears. "This is what I'm talking about. No answers." He leaned closer to the mic. All those years, and still nothing to say. A few people shifted in their seats. Trump wasn't feeding off energy now. He was chasing it, and the fact that Obama hadn't given him a single word was starting to irritate him. Obama stayed still, eyes forward, expression unreadable. The room picked up on it immediately. Not the silence itself, but what it was doing to Trump. A local reporter near the aisle leaned toward her cameraman and whispered, barely audible, "He's not quiet because he's stuck. He's quiet because he's letting Trump talk himself into a corner." Trump's cadence started to slip. His sentences came faster, sharper, more personal. "You had 8 years," he snapped. 8. And what did people get? Weak leadership, empty promises, a lot of fancy words and no backbone. His hand chopped the air as he spoke, like he was trying to force a reaction out of sheer motion. Then it happened. Obama pushed his chair back. The sound was small, but in that moment it cut straight through the room. He stood up slowly, not rushed, not dramatic, just deliberate. Conversations stopped. Screens lifted. Trump noticed mid-sentence and hesitated for half a breath, just long enough to give himself away. Obama didn't say a word. Obama didn't rush the microphone. He walked to it, the way someone does when they already know the room will wait. Each step was steady, controlled, almost indifferent to the noise Trump was still trying to generate. When he reached the podium, he lowered the mic slightly, rested both hands on the edge, and paused. Cameras locked in instantly. It was a clean frame for television. Calm face, squared shoulders, no wasted movement. Before Trump could jump back in, Obama spoke, voice even, unhurried. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about the country we all share." The shift was immediate. The room didn't relax, but it refocused. Trump scoffed loudly into his mic, shaking his head. "Here we go again," he muttered. "Unity? Hope. I've heard this one before." A few snickers broke out, but they were thin and scattered. Obama didn't react. He didn't even look at Trump. He kept his eyes on the room, on the journalists, on the cameras. "Hope isn't a policy," he continued calmly. "It's a direction." The words landed clean, without force, and that made them sharper. Trump leaned forward, ready to interrupt, but Obama didn't give him a gap. "Results come from vision," he said. "Without vision, power is just noise." That line cut deeper than Trump expected. Everyone could see it in the way his jaw tightened. In the second row, a reporter pulled up education data on her screen, glancing between numbers and Obama's face, typing fast. "He's reframing. Leadership principles, not a scoreboard." Around her, pens started moving again, but the sound was different now. Reporters weren't chasing Trump's insults anymore. They were underlining Obama's sentences, circling phrases, marking timestamps. Trump tried to jump back in, but his words felt rushed, crowded by something steadier. Trump snapped back into attack mode, louder now, faster, like he was trying to drown out the shift he could feel slipping away. "Look at the numbers," he barked, stabbing the air with his finger. "Markets up, jobs back, people proud again. That's not talk, that's winning." He leaned over the podium, eyes sharp, voice thick with challenge. That's strength. That's leadership. Not speeches, not slogans. He paused just long enough to sell it, then added with a sneer, "People are done being lectured by someone who already had 8 years to prove it." The jab was meant to corner Obama with math and momentum. Trump thought numbers would end the argument. Obama didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush. He looked straight ahead and cut through it clean. "Pride isn't measured in numbers," he said. "Pride is measured in how we treat each other." The room stiffened. Trump jumped in immediately, almost tripping over his own words. "You left us divided," he shot back. "You split this country down the middle." Obama answered without blinking. "Division doesn't start with the people," he said. "It starts with leaders." That one landed harder. You could feel it. Trump shook his head, irritated now, louder again. "We rebuilt strength. We made America respected." Obama didn't flinch. "Strength without wisdom," he said, steady and precise, "becomes weakness in disguise." That was the moment Trump lost patience. He started talking over the silence, cutting into Obama's pauses, trying to break the rhythm. "That's your problem," he snapped. "Always sounding smart, never fixing anything." Obama didn't take the bait. He held his ground, voice calm but sharper now. "Noise feels powerful," he said, "until people realize it's empty." A veteran reporter scribbled without looking up. "He's not debating Trump. He's boxing the audience's conscience." Trump felt it and pushed harder, interrupting again, words tumbling out faster than his thoughts. But the more he pressed, the clearer it became to everyone watching. Obama's calm wasn't fading. It was exposing Trump's impatience, and that impatience was starting to run the room against him. Trump leaned forward again, gripping the edges of the podium like he was holding himself in place. His voice hardened, losing whatever polish it had left. "You failed this country," he said flatly. "Broken promises, weak leadership, cities falling apart while you gave speeches about hope." He rattled the words off faster now, sharper, each one meant to stick. "You left communities worse than you found them. You talked while people struggled. You smiled while the country drifted." The room didn't react the way it had earlier. No laughter this time. Just tension tightening like a wire pulled too far. Then Trump shifted gears, and it got uglier. He tilted his head, mocking, eyes flicking toward the cameras as if he were performing for an audience that wasn't even in the room. "But hey," he said with a crooked grin. "Cool guy, right? Smooth talker. Always calm. Always polished." He chuckled to himself. "That's the act. Sound smart. Look relaxed. Let the media swoon. And nobody asks what actually got done." A few reporters stiffened. Trump pressed on, emboldened by his own momentum. That style fooled people once. It fooled a lot of people, but it doesn't fool them anymore. Obama still hadn't moved. That silence only pushed Trump further past the edge. His voice rose, losing its rhythm. 8 years, he snapped. 8 long years. And what did you leave behind? Division, weakness, apologies to the world. He jabbed a finger toward the floor. You didn't just underperform, you didn't just come up short. He paused, eyes narrowed, then delivered it with satisfaction. You were the biggest mistake this country ever made. The sentence hit the room like a dropped plate. Sharp. Irreversible. Everything stopped. Fingers froze above keyboards. One photographer lowered his camera without realizing it. A low murmur rippled and died instantly, like people weren't sure they were allowed to react. In the back, someone from the press team muttered under their breath, "That line will backfire." It wasn't whispered for drama. It was said the way people state facts when something has already gone wrong. Trump stood there, breathing harder now, clearly pleased with himself, waiting for the explosion he thought he'd earned. Instead, Obama moved, just slightly. One measured step forward, not toward Trump, but toward the center of the moment. His expression didn't harden. It didn't crack. If anything, it grew more controlled, more deliberate. He didn't interrupt. He didn't fire back. That restraint unsettled the room more than anger ever could. Trump watched him closely, smile fading, uncertainty creeping in where confidence had been seconds earlier. The instant Trump finished shouting, the room went dead. Not awkwardly quiet, sealed. The kind of silence that lands hard on your ears and makes every breath feel too loud. Trump stood frozen behind the podium, jaw tight, shoulders stiff, still buzzing from his own anger, waiting for the explosion he believed he had earned. He expected Obama to fire back, to raise his voice, to give him the chaos he thrived on. Instead, the silence dragged on, and with every second that passed, Trump's last words sounded less powerful and more reckless, like something he wished he could pull back, but couldn't. Obama didn't move right away. He didn't rush to the microphone, didn't shake his head, didn't look offended. He lifted his eyes slowly and looked straight through the room, not searching for approval, not even really looking at Trump. His expression was controlled, almost severe, like a man deciding that enough damage had already been done. The pause stretched just long enough to make Trump shift his weight, just long enough for the press to realize this wasn't a comeback. It was a shutdown. When Obama finally spoke, his voice was calm, firm, and completely unhurried. "A president doesn't prove himself by tearing people down," he said, each word clean and deliberate. He paused again, letting the room absorb it. "He proves himself by lifting people up." The effect was immediate and brutal. No one typed. No one whispered. It was as if the sentence had sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Trump's lips parted automatically, muscle memory kicking in, ready to interrupt, ready to sneer, ready to throw something back. But he was late. The timing was gone. Any response now would sound small, defensive, desperate. He leaned toward the microphone anyway, stopped, and leaned back again, realizing the damage in real time. The sentence didn't attack him directly, and that was the problem. It rose above him, leaving his insults stranded below it. In the front row, a reporter circled the quote in red, boxed it, and wrote in the margin, "Headline locked." Others did the same, copying it carefully, afraid of getting even a word wrong. Cameras stayed glued to Obama, steady and composed, while Trump stood stiff and silent, his earlier confidence drained from his face. The room didn't erupt, because it didn't need to. Everyone knew they had just heard the line that would carry through the night, through the headlines, through the arguments that followed. The fight ended right there, not with volume, not with rage, but with one sentence that made everything Trump had said before it sound hollow. Obama didn't stay in the wreckage Trump had created. He didn't circle back to the insult, didn't defend himself, didn't even look in Trump's direction again. He simply shifted the conversation forward, and that was the sharpest cut of the entire exchange. "That's why I'm here today," he said calmly, turning his body slightly toward the press instead of the podium Trump had claimed. "To talk about education. To talk about the next generation." The move landed harder than any comeback. By refusing to stay in the fight, Obama quietly recast Trump as a disruption, not a rival. He continued without raising his voice, without changing his pace. "Leadership is service," he said. "It's measured by whether you leave people stronger than you found them." The words weren't dramatic, but they were final. They didn't invite argument. They closed the door. Trump muttered into his microphone, barely hiding the irritation. More speeches, trying to laugh it off, trying to claw the moment back. But no one followed him. Heads didn't turn. Pens didn't move in his direction. The room had already shifted past him. Hands started going up, not toward Trump, but toward Obama. "Mr. President," one reporter asked, "can you expand on what you meant by lifting people up?" Another followed quickly, asking about schools, opportunity, and what leadership should look like for kids watching at home. Trump stood there, jaw tight, eyes narrowed, reduced to background noise in a moment he could no longer control. He tried to interrupt once more, but it felt forced, desperate, out of place. The spotlight didn't move. Near the aisle, a young reporter stared down at her notes, then back up at Obama, and quietly said to herself, "That's restraint. That's leadership." She wasn't the only one thinking it. The clip was already cutting itself in real time. Clean, simple, impossible to twist without looking small. Obama had ended the confrontation by moving on, and in doing so, he made the contrast permanent. Trump came to dominate the room. Obama left owning the story. If you want more stories like this, real moments, real tension, and the quiet lines that change everything, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next confrontation that rewrites the narrative.